Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. Welcome to sales meeting. Welcome to those of you that are online as well or watching after the fact. We're really glad to have you. Hope your beautiful week, beautiful weather this week is going really well. So we're going to just dive right in and get started on our sales meeting announcements and updates. So first, definitely sign into sales meeting. If you're here in person, you have a QR code. If you are online, you can type in the whole URL, all lowercase, or you can scan the QR code. And when you sign in, you get entered to win our drawing. So our sponsor today, Treasure Valley Business Brokers, they have given a $50 Visa gift card. And so if none of you sign in, then I'm going to win it. So if you all could just not, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead and sign in, and then I'll do that giveaway in the Facebook forum later today or tomorrow. All right, Krista might pop in here. I know she was helping an agent a minute ago, but I did want to announce that we are having a twice monthly broker chat with Krista. This is hosted on Google Meet, and it's an opportunity for you to join into the Google Meet, and it's open Q&A. So if you need to talk through a transaction you're working on, if you just have questions about the industry, or you're trying to strategize on something, or maybe you even want an update on crazy industry news, this is a great place to come. So our next broker chat is on April 22nd. That's a Monday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And there is a direct link to that chat. It is the same Google Meet link every single time we host. And it is also on the calendar. So if you go to the education calendar, you'll be able to see all the upcoming broker chats. So hope you guys can pop on. We had a great group. Our first one was just a week or so ago. And it was great just to see not only Krista engaging with, the agents who joined, but also those agents supporting each other. There was one, we were talking about pricing strategy, and another agent had some input. They ended up connecting offline and really helping that agent with her listing. So anyway, great opportunity. Hope you can join anytime for that. All right. Always like to highlight a service that you have here at Silver Creek. And today I just want to chat a little bit about our education platform. As many of you know, education is a huge priority for us at the brokerage, and we have a number of educational opportunities for you on an ongoing basis. So we have our free CE, elective CE, and core classes, and those are offered either live in the Meridian classroom or via Zoom. When you are on the calendar, and I'll show you this, at the very end of the title, you can see where it's taking place. Let's see. I've got a Meridian Classroom CE and a Zoom CE. So just check that. We know we have agents throughout the state or even close-ish to the Meridian office who don't want to drive in Treasure Valley traffic and come to the Meridian office. So we always have the Zoom options too. So be sure to join us. We have our agent training classes. Those happen every Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, live in the Meridian classroom, live stream and recorded. We have our sales meeting, which is here right this moment where you are, first and third Tuesday of every month. And then our broker chats twice monthly. And then we have an occasional special topic class. I know we've got an AI class with Rick Gray coming up and a variety of others. So when you're looking at the calendar, oops, I'm going backwards. There are some color codes here. One thing that you can do is at the top of the calendar where it says, the calendar header, there's a drop down and you can sort by CE, you can sort by agent training classes, you can sort however. So take a look at that. And then the tan classes are the CE. And that's what most agents, I think, come to the calendar looking for. We have a lot of agents who renew license every month, and a lot of agents who like to wait until their birthday month to do their CE. So always come and double check and see what you can get. Our CE is by and large offered at no cost for our agents. Any questions about education? Great classes coming up, couple CE classes this week and next, and agent training. I'm hosting a social media class on Thursday. So if you're feeling a little uncertain about the social media world, it is going to be kind of a basic understanding the platforms and how to use the primary platforms as a business, and ways that you can leverage that resource to help with your prospecting and marketing. So love to have you join. Oh, see, my thing is backwards. Okay. Oh, I don't know what is happening, you guys. It is doing whatever it wants. Okay, this is the big announcement that I was waiting for. On our next sales meeting, which is May 7th, we are launching a new Silver Creek Toolbox. And I am very excited. We've been working on this for almost 1 year. And we hope that it is going to be a lot easier for you as agents to find what you're looking for, organized, a little more refined in how it's organized. And it's fully search integrated. So you'll be able to go on and search listing presentation and be able to find, what it is that you're looking for. So at our next sales meeting, I will be launching that, sharing the whole new platform with you. There will not be a change in the domain or anything like that. But at the same sales meeting, we are launching a fully integrated coaching platform for all Silver Creek agents, offered to you guys at no additional cost. And this is a partnership through Eisenhower Coaching and Training, and they are just fantastic. All free coaching modules integrated with video training, workbooks, it's phenomenal. So don't miss the next sales meeting. It's going to be really exciting, and especially at this time of change in the industry. I know conversations I've had with a lot of agents are, okay, how do I need to reinvent myself? Okay, how do I need to double down on my skills? How do I need to become better at my craft? And this, rolling this out for all of you is part of our desire to support you in whatever's coming next in the industry and continuing to support your success in that way. So please do join us. It's going to be fantastic. One more reminder to sign in if you haven't yet. Here's the link and the code for those of you that are online. Okay, let's welcome up. I've got Rob Conrad here. He is a licensed Silver Creek agent, but works primarily in the business acquisition and sales space. So we're going to turn a few minutes over to him for an overview.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thanks, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Hey, hi, I'm Rob with Treasure Valley Business Brokers. My wife and I sell businesses in the whole Treasure Valley area and sometimes in other areas of Idaho if needed, but mostly focused here. We don't necessarily do franchises or restaurants. We found that those are things that we don't really want to get into, but we've done a lot of diesel repair shops, home care, stuff like that. And the big difference between like a real estate agent and a business broker is, so the business broker is trying to keep everything confidential. So you don't want your employees knowing all that kind of stuff. So we keep that. There's a whole process to it. We have our own forms, like the realtor forms we use here in real estate. Those are their forms. We have our forms. We'll obviously use the real estate forms if we're doing real estate involved. But the biggest thing with that is the confidentiality and the process of going through the whole deal. And I know a lot of real estate agents have called and asked, how do you do it? I'm like, can't really explain how you do it. But if you want to refer it to us, we've started a referral program. So anybody that has a friend that wants to sell their business or anything like that, have them give us a call and not have them give us a call, have the realtor call us, and then we'll do a referral form, and then you guys will get a % of that sale when we sell the business. So that's it.
That's awesome. Any questions for Rob?
Is the referral aspect on the real estate portion of the sale or the business?
Both.
Real estate?
Both. So a lot of businesses are sold without real estate, like 90% of them. Sometimes we'll have real estate involved, and if it's real estate, we'll do the same referral you would on the real estate end, and on the business end, it's very similar to the real estate referral. It's just a block section. So if it's like 500,000 to 750 or what, there's a block instead of a %, but it still equals to be really close, if not better than our real estate commission. So, but yeah, we split both those if we're doing real estate.
Tell them to check other folders. There's a flyer in there.
Oh yeah, there's flyers in all the folders up there, so you can, for our information to contact us. If you guys want to do that, we also have cards back here for you that are in the meeting here.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I love it. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you, Rob. And yes, I will also be sharing Rob and Jana's contact info in the Facebook forum when I do my sales meeting recap. So yeah, as you guys are out working, you never know what type of opportunities you run into. And I get calls all the time from agents. Just got one last night. Hey, I have this opportunity to list this industrial property. I don't know the first thing about it. Who can I partner with at the brokerage? And it's amazing that we have so many resources within Silver Creek for that. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it and appreciate the giveaway. For those that are here in person, there's also donuts in the back from Rob and Jana. So thank you. Okay, we are going to turn the rest of our sales meeting time over to JJ Astorquia. He is our partner at Bluebird Home Loans, talking today about proven tactics to take your business from reactive to proactive. I don't know about you guys, but there's lots of days at the end of the day, I just feel like I play defense all day long. And JJ's going to teach us some strategies to maybe get out of that spiral, right? And be really intentional with our business. Before we do, Krista, do you have anything today? Okay, no problem. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Krista says hello to all of you that are online. Please reach out to her if you need anything this week. All right, JJ, thank you so much.
Thanks. Awesome.
So Chris is going to stay and learn how to be proactive.
She is. Thank you. I should. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. That's the first step, right? And trying to always be learning, trying to get better. I think that we'll do a little bit kind of mortgage update as we go, but also questions at the end, because there's always questions about what's kind of going on in the mortgage business as it relates to what you guys do every day. I think this is a very fitting time for this reactive versus proactive. I've been in the mortgage business since 2005, and my business really started off really well. Kind of 2005, you didn't really need to know a lot, right, to do a mortgage. Kind of show up, ask them what their social security number and their birth date was, their name, and tell them we'll see them at closing. That kind of went for a couple years, right? And then we had whatever you want to call it. We had the mortgage meltdown. We had issues that happened in 2008 with values, and a lot different than the time we're in now, right? So kind of got through that time period. Just to give you a little who I am and what we're doing here. I got to about 2014. We were a mortgage brokerage and decided, man, there's just so much compliance and different things that are coming at us every single year. One of the big things that happened for us was a kind of an attack on our compensation. So that might sound a little bit familiar right now, right? So we've been dealing with that issue for a long time. Guess what? Everything changes. You will get through these times. You'll be better. You'll figure out better ways to do things. But one of the things that I was really lacking was, what do I do every single day to be successful, right? I've got very much a sports background. My dad was a coach, and I was not floundering, but I was doing well, but kind of hitting a ceiling, right? I think in any of our businesses, you can get by until you can't, right? You start to get busier and busier, and it becomes, like Kristen said, you just like fighting your defense all day long, right? You're in your email, you're just being reactive to phone calls, you're being reactive to text messages now. I mean, just an onslaught, right? They never stop, right? These messages keep coming in. Like, what do you do to stay proactive in your day? So it's been about 6 years ago now, I decided I was going to go and get coached. Very much my background, right? I like that. I like accountability. And some of us do and some of us don't, right? But I think that one thing that we all have in common is we want to have success in our business. Whatever that level of success is for you, it might be different than someone else. But in order to do that, you have to set certain parameters. And I thought that having a coach was my best opportunity, and my business blew up. And what I'm going to show you guys today comes from the coaching company. There we go, down. So we're going to talk about what we call theme days for realtors. So the coaching company that I was involved in as a student was both for real estate and for mortgage. So I got to see firsthand what that coaching company was doing for my realtor partners as well. And the best of the best in the nation, right? These top producers and what they were doing and how they were setting up their days. I'm going to throw out some time management tips and Q&A, but we'll kind of jump right into it. So do you struggle with what you need to do to be successful every day? Show of hands. Are you just reacting to your email, your text messages, your phone, your voicemails all day long, every day, just kind of onslaught? Show of hands. That's me too, right? If you allow it to, it will just dictate what you do all day, right? The fires are typically what we deal with first. And one of the things you have to do is prioritize the things that are going to bring you more business. So we'll talk about a proven plan of action here. Okay, so they're a little bit different, but every day of the week, right? So it's kind of funny because I'm going to go through Monday through Friday, and I think that most realtors understand they work pretty much every weekend as well. So do we on the mortgage side. It's just a matter of kind of trying to set up your days, regardless of what the day of the week says. If you implement at least 2 or 3 of these tactics after you leave, that's the key, right? So we've all been to seminars, we've all been to speakers that get you all fired up, and you're going to conquer the world, and you're going to leave, and you're going to go do all of it, right? Well, what happens? We peter out after like a couple of days because it's just overwhelming, right? There's 20 different things I want to implement in my business, and I end up implementing 0. Well, one of the things about being coached or having a plan is over time, if you implement 1 or 2 things every month, every quarter, whatever it is, right, for you, and you look back, one thing that I did and I do every day with our team is I look back and I'm just amazed at all the things that we implemented, kind of 1 or 2 tactics at a time, and now pretty much everything we do in our business was because of those, and they add up, and you continue to make habits out of them and do them every day. So on Mondays, the top realtors that were being coached is a VIP day, right? So this for me on the mortgage side, I do VIPs on Friday because my biggest VIPs are my realtors. So I call real estate agents on Monday. So yesterday I called 35 real estate agents and talked to them about something of value. That something of value this week is that we have, Kristen mentioned a Rick Gray training coming up. I'm blown away every single day. I can't go a full day without hearing about AI. So I had Rick, we're going to host a training. You guys are all invited to come on the 24th at Boise Regional Realtors. And he's going to talk about AI. So I had something of value to call on, right? Because isn't that the hardest thing? Like, well, okay, you tell me to call my VIPs or my real estate agents or whoever your referral sources are. Well, what do I say, right? Show of hands, do you guys feel like you're in sales? One hand, a couple of nods. Let's have some activity here, right? So is sales a bad word? Do people have a negative connotation about sales sometimes, right? Do you have a negative connotation to have a script? Like, oh, I'm going to sound like a telemarketer. I'm going to have a script. You do? Yeah, I don't want a script, right? But let me put it a different way. Do you want to know what to say? That's a script, right? Like you want to know how to answer questions. You want to know what you're going to talk about. It doesn't have to sound salesy. You don't have to be a pushy salesperson to have a script and be in sales, but that's really what we are. So tactics is what we're trying to get to today. VIPs every single Monday. If you have 50 of them, and this is just a math thing, I'm a math guy, right? My wife calls me a mathlete. If you do 12 every single week, guess what? You hit 50, once a month, right? Roughly, 5 weeks. So you talk to your VIPs once a month. Have something of value, typically asking them how their business is going, how their life is going. What's the natural response when you get into conversation about how they're doing? Anybody? Fine. What's their question back to you, right? How are you doing? How's real estate? How's the market, right? So you need a script, or you need to know the answers to the questions that you know you're going to get. And what's probably the biggest question you're getting from people that you talk to right now? Yep. No one's ever told me I'm not loud enough, but what's the biggest question that you're getting at this point, or probably will be getting if you're not? Commissions, right? What's your value, NAR settlement, however you want to say this, right? However you get into the conversation. Is it awkward right now to have those conversations? It's awkward because you haven't had any practice yet, right? But as you do it more and more, and guess who are the best people to have those conversations with? Your VIPs, your trusted people that you get referrals from. They've always been part of your business, part of your life. Guess what? Your VIPs don't have to be just those that have sent you business before. They can be your aunt and uncle, your mom, your grandma, people that you talk to. And if you can have those tough conversations and get practice in having those script conversations, You're going to be better when you have a buyer that calls and says, hey, I want to go look at homes. And by the way, I heard that I don't have to pay you any commission, right? Now you have some practice in how you have those. So 1 lunch per week. So that's 4 per month. And that's basically 50 a year, right? If you hit everyone, and guess what? It's a constant struggle to try and get somebody to meet with you to have lunch or coffee or happy hour, whatever you like to do. Have some face-to-face time, right? Put them on a birthday card program. It's okay to prioritize them A, B, and C. Some people are like, I don't want to put people into categories. It's okay. There's people that send you or help you to get more business than others. I would just put those in categories because guess what? I would spend a little bit more time and energy on those that are helping you to have a successful business than others, right? So get 50, LOTH, so letter of the heart. Does anybody send out some sort of personal information in their marketing? Anybody? No? It's super valuable when you send out personal information. Not exactly like, what am I doing, but something about you, right? We're human. People want to work with people that have like interests. They like people that show them who they are. It's good to have some vulnerability in things that you send out. Don't just send out marketing stuff about real estate all the time. If you're doing social media, it's good to have some personal posts in there as well, so people are humanizing you, especially when you're having these tough conversations about your value and your worth and your commissions, right? They need to know that you have a family, a life, and things that you like to do and bills that you need to pay as well. And 1 happy hour a month. So if you do all these things, it sounds a little bit overwhelming, right? Every single week you have to have a plan. Start with 5, right? Instead of 12 every Monday. Just get started and make a habit out of it. So every single Monday, what do you have to do in your calendar in order to do this, right? Because your text messages aren't going to stop. You're going to get a phone call that all of a sudden is like way more important than making my calls, right? What do? Do you take that phone call, or do you push that out for an hour and make your actual active phone calls out?
I had a colleague who once just locked himself in his office, and he would not accept any calls or anything until he did his calls.
Yeah. I would say that the best way to do this is to make sure it's in your calendar at the most productive time for you every single week, whether that's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 9 to 11. If you're making 12 and they actually answer the phone, it's going to take you a couple hours to make these phone calls. But guess what? They're super, super valuable, and you'll actually, over time, it'll become easier and easier to make those. Some weeks, you might get through 12 and leave 10 voicemails. It might take you 25 minutes, right? And you can move along with your day, but you've knocked that off of your calendar. So I would say put it in your calendar and stick to it. If you can, yes, there's going to be something that comes up that is more important. Somebody, kid got sick at school. I've got to stop. I've got to go get him from school. I've got somebody that's ill, parent that, called and needs help. But, those fires that crop up, they're typically okay for about 30 to 45 minutes, right? They're going to be okay for you to actually stick with your calendar and do these things. So that's Monday. Anybody overwhelmed already? Tuesday, this is probably the biggest game changer in my business, and I think for real estate agents as well. Tuesday, every single Tuesday, you need to let your clients know, I'm going to call you every single Tuesday, and I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in the transaction. So what this does for you selfishly is 2 things. First, it forces you, it gives you accountability, right? The more you tell somebody that you're going to go work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the better chance you're probably going to do it, right? Because you're holding yourself accountable and you're telling people. If you tell your clients that you're going to be calling them every single Tuesday, it's pretty hard not to, right? So you tell them at the beginning when you start working with them, I'm going to call you every Tuesday and give you an update. Well, what happens though if you're doing that every Tuesday? You get fewer phone calls and fires from them with just random questions, right? Because they know that you've given them the update, you're proactive in what you're telling them and what's going to be happening the next step. and you get a lot less of those phone calls. So you actually gain time by doing this every single Tuesday. I would call your existing clients, so anyone you're buying, your buyers and your sellers. Here's a little tactic for you though. On both your listings and with your buyers on Tuesdays, do you ever call the other agent when there's nothing that's bad, nothing, bad news, just checking in with them, the agent on the other side? Really, really nice tactic, right? Because if I'm calling and I'm calling Kristen and I'm saying, hey, everything's going great on our end. Is your seller happy? Our buyers are, we're in the middle of getting the appraisal, whatever the updates are, you can give them to them without any issues, right? Well, guess what happens when an issue pops up? Because does anyone have issues pop up in almost every single transaction now? It's easier to make that phone call because you've created a relationship with that other agent, right? It's not just we're battling at the beginning for negotiations and getting under contract. We're checking in with each other. We're working together because guess what? No one gets paid. No one gets in the house or sells the house until we get to the end, right? So at that point, we're really working together. I would also call your escrow officer and check in with them. Has anyone ever called their escrow officer with no bad news, no questions that they need to answer for you? Guess what? They're human as well. They love to hear, hey, just checking in, everything good for you? How's the timing? Let's just be proactive on what's going to happen next, right? They're going to be way more apt to think of you versus the agent that only calls them when there's issues and always has fires. Guess what? They buy and sell homes as well. They have friends that do. And when you're the one that calls them and is in a relationship with your escrow officer, they're going to think of you when they need to buy and sell real estate, right? Same thing that we do with you, right? When we're calling you, we're not just calling you to ask if you have a lead that we can work with that wants to buy a home. We're creating a relationship because you're going to at some point, you're going to trust us to help, but you're also going to buy and sell real estate at some point. And who are you going to think of, right? The people that you want to work with that are really kind and nice. So call people through the transaction every single Tuesday. Your lender, call and just check in. They should be calling you every single Tuesday as well. If they're not, I would recommend that to the loan officer that you work with. Hey, let's check in once a week, every single week, even if there's nothing that we need to know, right? Because that leads to proactivity and it leads to handling any issues that come up before they happen. Any question on Tuesdays? Just a hard one to do? These are easy phone calls, right? And guess what? These are sales calls, you guys. These are proactive relationship building things that help you in business down the road. If you treat somebody during the transaction, buyer and seller, of course, but the other agent, and I don't know, fast forward a couple months and you've got another buyer and they just happen to be the agent on the other side again, and your offer goes in, they're going to be more apt to want to work with you than someone else. Have you guys ever worked with an agent that you're just like, I will never work with that agent again? Have you ever worked with one that you're like, man, if they sent me an offer, I'm definitely going to try and get their buyer the house because they're really fun to work with. They're good. They're professional, all of those things. So Tuesday updates. Wednesday. Does anyone lose track of old leads? They're always looking at hot, anything coming in. I'm going to be really active. I'm going to call those. What sort of system do you guys use to keep track of folks that maybe talked to you a year ago about buying or selling their house? Does anybody use a CRM, back of a napkin, just up here in their phone some way, right? I love the back of the napkin. That's an old bar thing, right? But got to keep track of your people in some way, right? I've been hearing this term a lot. It's not a database, it's a data bank. If you keep good information, you're going to benefit from that. If you keep in touch with people, even if it's just, hey, I need to touch base with this person in 3 months, put it on your calendar on Tuesday, 3 months from now, it's going to pop up and you're going to be like, oh, I would have forgotten if I didn't do it, right? On Wednesdays, if you have a list, be calling all of your old leads. What I'm seeing, and maybe you guys are as well right now, is we're starting to see buyers that wanted to get pre-approved a year ago, a year and a half ago, that now all of a sudden they're like, well, I guess interest rates aren't going to come down and prices aren't going to crash. Did anybody have a buyer that was like, oh, I'm going to wait until the values go down 30%? It's like 2008. Anybody have any of those? Have they crashed? Have our values crashed? Have interest rates come down? Are there people buying the homes, the inventory that we have right now? What do you guys think is going to happen when interest rates do come down? And they will. Refis, hopefully. More competition, values going up, right? My thought is that until we get something with a 5 in front of it on interest rates, and we're in the 7s right now, 5.875 is going to spur a lot more activity. Well, all of a sudden, we're actually seeing quite a few buyers that are they're okay with qualifying now at 7 or 7.25 because they know that as soon as that interest rate drops, 5.875 isn't going to get any of you that have 2.875 to sell your home, right? You're still in that golden handcuff interest rate that's super low. I don't want to get rid of my house because I'm never going to get the same payment, even though you might want to sell your house and go somewhere else and do something. But 5.875 is going to bring a ton more buyers. And those buyers are just going to drive prices up on that limited inventory. So just be cognizant of that when you're talking to these old leads to understand, why should I buy now? A script again, right? Have your own way of having that conversation. But, if you can buy now and you can afford the payment, and when rates come down, whoever said refinance, we could potentially, I wouldn't say always, definitely don't tell your clients you can always refinance because they may not be able to. They may put, very little down on the home. Does anybody have a first-time home buyer right now that's putting basically 0 down? A first loan with a second loan with Idaho Housing and down payment assistance and help from the seller and all of that? Well, if rates go down in 6 months and the value hasn't really skyrocketed yet, they may not have enough equity in the home to refinance yet, right? So be careful in how you have that conversation, but it's a good one to be educating them on, buy now, get a lower payment later by refinancing when you can. Evidence of success mailer. If you're not doing an evidence of success, I would definitely integrate that into what you're doing. Definitely let the people know in the neighborhood that you just sold a home there. Let other first-time home buyers know that you just worked with a first-time home buyer and had a great buy for them. Evidence of success. And if you can and you like to do video, anybody like to do video? Anybody hate to do video? I don't look very good on camera. I stumble all the time. Guess what? The people that are good in video, they were really crappy at one point. They weren't very good the first time either. And it's very much a practice and repeat and get better, right? And honestly, I like the videos they're not perfect, right? If you're shooting it and you're worried about what your hair looks like, ladies, guys, you're worried about stumbling with your words, it's okay. Shoot it and send it and get it out there. Just get information out there to your leads. What's going on in the market is great. Okay. We're to Thursday. Are we fatigued yet? Man, that's been a lot, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right? Well, some tactics on Thursday. So you can keep your past 50 favorite past clients. If you haven't even had 50, that's okay. Start with 5, right? Start with 10, whatever the number is. Again, it's a math thing, right? 12 per week, that's 50. That's one touch per month. Make sure you have a birthday card program. Little plug for what we do. And if your lender that you use isn't us and you're using somebody else, great. But you should make sure that they have a program where you get an email the day before the birthday for every single client that you've worked with. Because you don't gather their birth dates, but we have to, right? So we have that information as part of their loan application. And every single client that we work with, the day before their birthday and the day before their anniversary, you get an email from us telling you, hey, it's John or Sally's birthday tomorrow. Make sure to give them a call, right? So it's just a little reminder to you. And as soon as you get that, then you can plug their birthday into your calendar as well, so it's hitting. What's a good tactic here, right? Does anybody get a happy birthday text from all your friends? Like 1,000 of them, right? Hey, happy birthday. It took them 5 seconds to send you a happy birthday. or they send it to you on Facebook. That's great. Definitely do that. But a little tactic, I don't know if you guys know, but these things have cameras on them and they have video, and you can just turn it around. You can say, hey, John, it's JJ. Tomorrow's your birthday. I wanted to be the first to let you know that you're so special to me, blah, blah, blah. Send. Would you watch a video that came through via text and actually be like, wow, that's a little different than the other 1,000 text messages I got about happy birthday, right? It's super simple. You can just turn the camera around, shoot it. It takes about the same amount of time, maybe even less than trying to type out some cool message to them, and send it, right? Don't shoot it twice. Don't worry about what you look like. It's okay. If they're clients, they'll love seeing your face again. It just makes you connect with them on a human level, right? So make sure you're doing some sort of a birthday card program or birthday program. I like happy hours because you can pick one day of the month and set it and just invite people to come. It's the third Thursday of every month, and we're going to be meeting at the same place. Just make it consistent. Everybody come, have one drink or no drinks, talk a little bit about the market, just talk about how people's kids are and whatever it is, and get out of there, right? So set something here. What I want you to do at the end is to come up with 2 things that you're going to actually implement. Not every single one of these. Of course, you can have the slides and try to do all of it, but just you want to pick up 2. If you have a big database, you've been in the business for a while, or you've just been really good at keeping contact information, 400 past client database, call 1 letter of the week. So again, a math trick here, right? So there's 26 letters in the alphabet. You do that twice. That's 52. That's 52 weeks. Maybe you double up a couple weeks because you're going to take a couple vacations, right? But it's very easy to just, if you don't have a database, you have one of these, and I guarantee you have contacts saved in there, and you can just go to A and you can say, okay, I'm going to call these 12 people this week, right? It's just a matter of having activity every single week. Again, birthday cards, letter of the heart. So one thing that I do, I started this a couple years ago. I've been a little lax. Everybody goes through waves, right? You get a little bit less motivation. But I do what's called Sunday thoughts. And every Sunday I type up an email about what happened during the week, something that I thought was cool, a podcast, a book, something that I read, make it kind of short, send it out via email. Put your database on there. If they say no thanks, take them off. It's okay. We probably are being recorded, but it's okay to send out an email to somebody that you've worked with. And if they say no, then make sure to take them off, right? But do something that they hear from you frequently, right? Any questions on any of this? All right. Whose favorite day of the week is cold calling day? Now we're really in sales, right? You don't mind it. Some people don't mind door knocking, cold calling. Again, right? You have to have something of value and change it up, because you're going to get sick of hearing your own voice, right? Calling and having the exact same conversation over and over again. But cold calling, new business people, builders, this is probably it's the last day of the week on purpose. You fatigue out. And right now, it's probably the least important in trying to implement this one, right? But as you gain momentum Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you get to Friday and you're like, what do I do on Friday? 10 business people every Friday. Call them, talk to them, especially the business brokers back here. You guys are doing that anyway. But evidence of success, you can see some common themes here, right? You can reuse stuff that you're using on other days of the week for the same database, right? So you're not having to recreate the wheel for every single person. It's good to just be consistent in what you do there. Again, you can invite them to the same happy hour. You might only have a couple people show up for a while, and maybe that'll build up to 10 or 12, and there'll be different people showing up, and they'll get to know each other, and you'll be a connector that way. 2 business events per month. So definitely find things that interest you and go. It's all about having interaction with more and more people every single week, right? Every single month, and just adding those people to the list of database that you have to be able to call on them and help them later. So cold calling on Fridays. So some time management tips here. Anybody react to every single email that comes in immediately or text message? Yes, I do. And that's kind of what I'm expected to do, right? I've done this training quite a few times, and usually there's a realtor in the room that says, okay, well, you're not going to answer my phone call when I call. Of course, you're going to answer the phone calls when they come in if you can. If you're in your time block of doing your proactivity, it's okay. I mean, could I have answered that phone call that just came in from a realtor that's a Silver Creek agent that wants to do a personal transaction? No, right? I'm in the middle of something that is important right now. You have to be focused on what you're doing. It'll be okay. I can call her back in 15 minutes when I get in the car, right? So turn off your email and check it 3 times a day. I can tell you right now, I don't do this, but people that do find it very valuable, because I feel that I can get through emails a lot faster when I have a block time and I'm looking at all of them and getting through them quickly than if I do them one at a time, right? So if you can block your calendar out 3 times a day and get into your email and answer those, that'll be a time saver. Use callback times. Have you ever had somebody that leaves on their voicemail? I'll call you back between this hour and, between 12 and 1 today or 4 and 5 today. And they change their voicemail every single day. You guys ever heard that? It's a really good tactic. Again, I'm still in reactive mode a lot, right? Because it seems like every phone call they expect you to answer right now. But it's okay to be in your proactive time and have callback times. If there's a call that comes in and it's super important, you call them back immediately, right? You don't have to wait for those callback times, but you're setting that appropriate expectation of when you are going to be returning those calls. And you got to do it, right? Don't miss those times because something else got in the way. Well, I need to call those people back that have called me in the morning from noon to 1 and in the afternoon from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, whatever the shift in your calendar is there. Pipeline review once a week. If you only have a couple transactions, still do a pipeline review. Do it with yourself, do it with a colleague if you're part of a team, but make sure you know exactly where everything is. I say do this on Tuesday morning. That's what we did this morning. My processor and I went through all the transactions we have in the pipeline, and today's Tuesday, so I'm going to be making Tuesday update phone calls as the day goes along. Calling my buyer, calling the listing agent, calling the buyer's agent, and checking in with them, letting them know what the next steps are. Time block everything. We talked about that. Tuesday updates. Thursday TBD calls for clients who are shopping. That's really more on the mortgage side there. Double the time. Does anybody ever run into an old friend and you're like, man, I feel like I just saw this person like 2 weeks ago, but you're like, it might have been 2 months ago, right? I typically, every time now I get the question of like, oh, when did we last catch up? I think of the number and then I double it in my head and then I throw that one out, right? Because more often than not, it's been longer than you think. Same thing here, right? When you have an expectation of when something's going to happen, I mean, I wouldn't just delay the time that you're going to get back to someone, but it's good to set proper expectations and give yourself enough time, because time goes by really, really fast. And it's good to have the ability to beat that expectation of when you're going to have something back or have something done. So doubling the time, number 7. Move your start time up 30 to 60 minutes for a while. I'd say that, work smarter, not harder is awesome, but work smarter and harder is better. If your business is lacking, you're not doing as much business as you'd want to, you probably need to put a little more effort, right? If you can force yourself to get up and get going 30 to 60 minutes more per day, that adds a ton of extra time during the week, right? You can also use that time to get into exactly what you're going to do that day and make a solid plan. If you hit the ground running, a lot of times you don't even have a calendar, right? You don't even know what's coming up next. If you take the time to look at that, and for me, it's big because if I start getting up 30 or 60 minutes earlier, I got to go to bed earlier, right? So another one here is set yourself an alarm for when you need to go to bed, right? Not necessarily when you need to get up, but when you need to go to bed. It's pretty easy to have that slip 30 or 60 minutes, right? In a night where you're like, oh, I'm watching a show, I'm catching up on a few things, I'm doing something around the house, scrolling. Anybody scroll through social media? How that can be like, oh, I'm going to do that for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it's been 60, right? And it's 11 instead of 10 when you go to sleep. It's harder to get up that extra 60 minutes earlier in the morning.
I'm going to lose clients if I call them at 6:30 in the morning.
You don't have to call them in the morning, but make a plan for the day, right? There's definitely other things that you could be doing at that time to get yourself ready. I called an agent at 8. It was like 5 minutes after 8. I think this was yesterday. She texted me back, did you mean to call me? And I was like, yep, it's 8:05. I did wait till after 8 to call you, but I wanted to see if you had, success when she went out and showed properties to a few clients over the weekend, to see if they'd, found a property. I knew they hadn't because they would have called me, but just wanted to check in. So it's okay. If they don't answer at 8:05, you can leave a voicemail for them and they'll get back to you, or you'll leave them the update or whatever it is, right? Yeah, good point. They don't hesitate to call you at 8:45 at night, right? When you're just, winding down your day. I think it's okay to call somebody after 8 a.m. personally. But yeah, 6:30 is maybe a little early. Unless they're a morning person. I have a few of those, right? I call my dad, at 6 in the morning because I know he's been awake for a couple hours already, reading his book or whatever. So there's definitely the early morning phone calls. Callback order. Does anybody have a callback order? Anybody know what that means? Yeah, what's your callback order? Like, what's the most important thing when you're calling people back?
Delegating tasks first. If they can be working on something, I'll call them so that they can be working on something while I'm returning calls that are like maybe me. I just handle it and giving an update.
Yeah.
So that then by the end of the day, I've already contacted them in the morning and hopefully their task is done.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So does anyone call their fires back first always? Like somebody that's like their hair's on fire and they're calling you and it's the biggest word, and sometimes it's really not that big a deal. And if you couldn't get back to them for like 30 minutes, it got itself figured out. Well, you need to have a callback list. Mine is new leads first, referral sources second, current deals third, coworkers fourth, friends and family when you go home. Of course, there's times when your family's calling, but we're so easily accessible now. Do you get text messages from your husband, wife, partner, kids, like all day long? And it just seems like it's the biggest deal in the world, like right now. A lot of times you can wait on some of those things. But I have it on a sticky note right on my computer, because when I get into that, does anybody ever get into that position where you're like, oh man, I've got 14 people I need to call back. What do I do? And you just kind of freeze for a bit instead of just start calling, right? Well, if you can refer to something that tells you like, well, when I wasn't in this moment that's really stressful, I put a list together of how I should prioritize for that moment. And that is really big for me, because I'm like, okay, are there any new leads in here that I need to call back? And a lot of times those can be pretty quick phone calls. Hey, we need to, we spend 10 or 15 minutes talking about their scenarios and get them the loan application link, right? For you guys, set another appointment time, right? And then move on to some of the things that are, feel like they're more important. But if you don't get back to those new leads, they call somebody else, right? They typically aren't very patient. They have another name from somebody that gave them a referral, especially on the mortgage side. You guys are conditioned to give out 3 names, right? If I don't call them back quickly, then they'll probably move on to the second name or just start going online because it's top of mind for them. So have a callback order. What are the most important things that you need to do, people that you need to call back when you get in that moment that's super stressful because you've got too much to do all at once, right? And it helps you focus, and all of a sudden you get through those calls and it wasn't really that big a deal. Learn to say no. So I think it's coming up more and more in different books that we're reading as a team. It's okay to say no to some things, because then you say yes to the more important things. So it's okay to not have your calendar completely booked all the time. I'm guilty of this. I'm a yes guy. I like to do everything. I'm a social guy. But it's okay to say no if it's going to help you to do something that's more valuable in your day. Any questions on those? All right. Have you guys mastered how to ask for business? What's the best time to ask for business? Like, let's just say during a transaction, or in a transaction. Anybody have an answer? And when they're happy. Okay, I like that. Anybody else? During the transaction. I like the middle. I like the middle of the transaction. Of course, you can ask all the time if you're doing a good job. That's the first thing you need to get them to acknowledge, right? Hey, how are we doing? How's the transaction going? If you have a team, how's the team doing? Are they taking care of all your needs? Always be asking, because as soon as they say, yes, everything's going great, well, now that door flies wide open, right? Oh man, I'm so glad to hear that. We're working as hard as we can to make sure this is a successful, purchase of this home for you. Can you do me a favor? If there's anyone that's also thinking about buying or selling a home, could you make sure and give me their contact information so I can reach out and give them this same sort of service, right? And in the middle of the transaction, have you ever had somebody say, not so good at the end? Like you ask them, hey, how did it go? And they were like, well, I didn't want to tell you until we were done, but man, that was poor. Like it was really hard on my side. That was the worst, I never want to get a mortgage again. And it's like, oh man. Well, if I'm done with the transaction, I have no ability to really do anything other than backtrack, right? Like, oh, I wish we could have done something better for you. How can I make it up to you? You're just on your heels, right? Well, if you ask in the middle of the transaction, how are we doing? Then you have the ability to course correct through the second half of the transaction, right? So I like that. And anytime they say, yes, you're doing a great job, that's the time that I feel like you're warranted in asking for other business, asking them to help you, right? Have you earned that referral is really the point. Have a way for people to refer you. So this is my time, right? Have you guys gotten one or two things out of this that you can implement in your business, like when you leave here today? Anybody want to share one thing that you're like, man, I think I'm going to put that into play this week?
Just the overall Monday, Tuesday timeline, just kind of cherry pick a few things out of there and add them in.
Nice. Awesome.
I love the Tuesday follow-up, with my active clients, because I always like trying to figure out, when am I going to do that? If I have a set day every week, everyone's expecting it.
Yeah. Yeah. It tends to lead to less confusion and less questions, right? Do you have that person that just, hammer texts you? Just text after text every day, right? And you're just like, man, this person won't stop. If you're talking to them every Tuesday, you're probably answering most of the questions that are going to come up, because you're usually talking about what's going to happen in the next 5 days, 7 days, right? There's times in the transaction on our end, hey, we're fully pre-approved, we're in for underwriting, and we've ordered appraisal, and now there's some dead time, right? And they get nervous. They're like, well, no one's calling me, no one's asking me for anything. Well, if you tell them there's going to be that dead time, then they're okay, right? They're like, oh, okay, she already told me that this next week I'm probably not going to get a call from my lender. I'm probably not going to get a call from yourself, because there's really nothing to report. And if there is, I'll proactively call you outside of that Tuesday. But great, that's awesome.
That's when you tell them what not to do between.
True. Yeah. Don't go open up that RC Willie card, right? Yeah. Listen to your lender when they give you the do's and don'ts list, for sure. So this is the way that we've got it set up to send us a referral. So it's a QR code. It's a really cool little app on your phone that basically gives the buyer an introduction and ties us all together. So I get quite a few leads where, hey, I gave John and Sally Jones, I gave them your name. Awesome. Thank you so much. I hang up and I'm like, it's not really a lead, right? It made you feel good to tell me that John and Sally Jones have my name. But if I can't proactively help you to make them a buyer, then it's really not, we're not working with somebody that's truly a lead. This allows us to not be over the top and not be pushy, but allows us to follow up appropriately. And all you have to do is put their name and contact information into this little form, and it sends these emails out automatically. And we've used some automation here, right? Some technology. It also puts them in our database and ties them to you. So we know exactly where the lead came from, and we can be following up on our leads and our Monday through Friday lists as well, right? So we can proactively reach out to them, talk to them about what their scenario is, and you're CC'd on the email. And there's a little box on the form that allows you to give additional details that they don't see. First-time home buyer, looking in Payette or in, I get these a lot, Middleton, Emmett, this seems like the hot spots for the first-time home buyers, and, 3 to 350,000. And they told me that they might have a little bit of crummy credit, right? So there's some information there. You should have a way when someone asks you, or you're at these happy hours or talking to your VIPs, how would they best get you the information? A text message is great, text message with their contact information. I always want their email address so that if they don't end up doing anything, they're in and now getting drip campaigns as well, right? Forward think of how you're going to stay in front of as many people as possible. So have a way for them to give you a referral. Go for it.
I was just going to say, one of the best things for me is to have someone email me with an email signature. Because I can copy and paste their email signature and send it to my client and say, hey, Jim, I want you to meet Kevin. Kevin's a great realtor or a great broker or whatever. I think you guys be a good fit. He's going to take it from here. Let's get you pre-approved. And then that way, the onus is on the broker to touch base with the client. We're all on a little chain. And then I can do a follow-up later on. People that don't have email signatures, I don't want to copy and paste the phone number and the email from their info. It is irritating enough for me to be like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Right.
So my recommendation is always have email signatures, even if it's coming from your iPhone or whatever, just so you got it and I can copy and paste.
Totally. Yeah.
I have a lot of people that listen to my podcast because it's in my email signature. It just says for investment real estate podcast, check out Invest in the West.
Awesome.
Through the link. And I have random people just because I email.
Totally. Yep. No, that's great. Any questions? Q&A? Anybody want?
What have you found that doesn't work?
Doesn't work. I think that if you have called someone, marketing says 9 times. I feel like if they really want to get back to me, they will after about 3 phone calls. They're getting text messages and all of that. So I call it the breakup call. And I think that that's a good one to say, hey, I haven't heard from you. I don't want to badger you. I want to be helpful. So I'm here whenever you're ready, but I'm going to stop calling you. I call it the breakup call. So not over calling, but maybe using that a little earlier on if they're just not responsive. And it allows me to kind of put that one out because I'm like, hey, I've done my job to follow up with them, but I don't want to over communicate if they're not really ready to go. So being calling too many times, I guess, would be the answer. Get to that breakup call a little earlier, because a lot of times, guess what? They're like, oh, no, I really want your help. I just have been really busy, right? So that's a helpful one. Other questions?
Is there anybody's programs you really like Brian Buffini or Tom Ferry, or that you think resonates with the times?
I haven't done either one of those courses. The coaching that I did was called The Core. It's not for everyone. It's very, I think it's kind of your D on the disc, your A+ personalities that really want high accountability. But it was awesome for me. I took a lot of really good things out of it. I think finding an accountability partner that really matches your personality is good, and they're holding you accountable. So
I notice when I do engagement that I get lots of response. In other words, I'm successful at it. Do you have if the snowball's starting to ramp up in terms of busyness, you have a backup plan for your engagements that reduces what you do, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally it does that, unless you get to a point where you can add team members, right? If you can't, then you're going to cap out, right? I found that on the mortgage side, I was capped out at about 5 to 8 loans a month, basically kind of doing it myself. We had a processing team, but we put all these process pieces in place that allowed me to be able to do more. But in order to get to 10 or 12 or 15 loans a month, I had to put the proper people in place to be able to help with those things. And using technology. So we have a lot of set it and forget it email campaigns. But I think the biggest success, the best thing for ultimate success down the road is we're in a people business. And if you can always keep really solid contact information for people and have some sort of a drip campaign follow-up, whether it's once a month newsletter that you send out, a once a week Sunday thoughts, we have kind of all of the above, right? And additional emails that go out. I mean, when I get your contact information, you're going to go on one called real estate prospecting, and you're going to start getting, hey, we're here for you for your pre-approvals. And it just goes out like once a week or once a month. But you have to kind of, when's the best time to add the next person is usually the golden question, right? Probably it was already time if you're now thinking about it, because you're kind of getting buried, and you have to take the time, even if you're, a control freak and you're the best at doing everything. If they can do it like 60% as good as you can, but 100% of the time, you got to give it to somebody else and have them do it and pay them to do it. So.
Just to comment on that gentleman's question as far as the program, there's a program called Win by Noon.
Yep.
They actually have a lender version of it as well.
Yep.
But it is super good. It's the concept in general is you do all the stuff you don't want to do, and it's the grind stuff all before noon. And
Yeah.
then by noon, you're freed up to go get the lunch, do the happy hour, talk to clients, if you pass clients or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a really good program. It was great for my team, and it helped quite a bit.
Awesome.
Your question, I think one of the best things I started doing was referring business out. And I talk to my team every year when we set goals. We say, how much do you want to make? How much do you want to work? And who do you want to work with? And if those things are not in alignment, then you refer that client out. If
Yeah.
some person that's not in your, like, they just rub you the wrong way, or like a hostile divorce situation and that's not your gig, or it's an investment property that might be over your head, refer that out, take the 25% referral fee, and go focus on what your primary path is.
It's really good.
That's really been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Helped me try to figure out how to delegate because I was not good at that.
Yeah. Have you ever fired a client and had it be the best thing that you've ever done? Yeah.
It was my wife. She's still my wife. I just fired her as a client because she was.
Okay. Okay.
So, core coaching, is that real estate centric or not?
It's both. Yep. There's a real estate side of it as well. Yeah. Kristen?
A question from online. Do you give time slots on your callbacks that you talked about?
I personally don't.
Sorry, will you repeat the question?
Yeah. The question was, do you give callback times? That was one of our time management tips in there. I personally don't. But it would be, it's a highly recommended thing to do, because it gives you that freedom to know that you've already told them, if they listen to your voicemail, right? Some don't, they just wait for the beep, that you're going to get back to them at a certain time. So I would recommend it. I personally, just being honest, I don't do it. And it's something you need to do every single day, right? Because sometimes you have a meeting that's noon to 1, and you need to change your voicemail every single day, which, that's good too, as long as you keep up on it, for sure.
The only agent that I've known that has done that, like, he wouldn't call back during those times.
Yeah.
And so I think you put yourself in a box, and if you're not willing to stay in that box, it's not a reliable thing.
Yep.
It's a negative.
Yeah.
It can be negative if you don't do something that you say you're going to do, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the question of what's the best thing to do for marketing? The thing you'll actually do, right? Don't do what somebody else said you should do. You know all the things that you can or should be doing for marketing. or sales or these calls, right? But don't do them if you're not going to do them consistently, right? It's the consistency that's going to add up over time. If you do these things every single week, I mean, I had a period recently where I was just like, man, this is just not working, right? Nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, if you just keep doing those tasks, you get a flood of things that happen all at once, right? And it does work, right? The most successful people in any type of business have some sort of a sales plan, have some sort of a proactive plan to manage their weeks. And if you add those weeks over and over and over again, you will get busy. You will get the amount of business that you want. So keep doing that. Any questions on the market in general? We're over just by a couple minutes, but I'm going to give you just a 30-second snapshot. Rates are up. They're not going to be going down anytime soon. It doesn't affect your business. You got to go out and do the things that you need to do to generate business every single day. The market is the market. It's not a bad market or a good market. It's just the market, right? It's what we have today, and definitely just stay in a positive mindset and go and do the things that you can, that you have a control over, right? Control the controllables. Don't worry about the news. Don't worry about what the president said about your commissions needing to be lowered. It's okay. Like, just go on with your day. Go do the things that you know are going to be helping other people, and you'll be successful. All right.
You notice how many more emails we're getting from VRR and NAR and so forth? We're getting a flood of
A lot.
Yeah.
Does anybody like giveaways? All right. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, JJ. As JJ, oh, yes. Thanks. As he asked, is there something that you can implement in your business today that you got from his presentation? I mean, absolutely every one of us. So thank you, JJ. We really appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you all for attending sales meeting. Those online, thank you. And we'll see you guys on May 7th.